and welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Soccer Show. We're talking Sunday Showdown at DraftKings. Wolverhampton home against Leicester City. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by AJ Scholz. AJ, welcome to the show. Usually a hockey aficionado. Now he's talking soccer. Are you ready for this? You got your Everton shirt on.
Yeah, I got the gear at least. But yeah, I'm good to go. Let's talk a little footy.
Yeah, so this match, we just want to get some content out for the people on Sundays. There's two matches. This is the second one. This is the final one of the weekend for the Premier League. Wolverhampton are home. If you're watching on YouTube, which you probably are, we have the cheat sheet up, rotowire.com/soccer trial if you want free 10-day trial, no credit card required. Wolverhampton 1.41 implied goal total. Leicester City 1.14 implied goal total. So a clean sheet is not expected, I guess you could say, from those numbers, and that's kind of where we'll start. But before we get there, we have to talk the main injury here. James Maddison went off Thursday. They had a Europa Conference League match where James Maddison, he came on in the 65th minute, came off 85th minute because he wasn't feeling well. And we're talking late Friday right now. They didn't release any information, so we don't know his status. And Maddison is kind of the guy. When he's on the field, he usually takes all the set pieces, so he's the main question. Otherwise, Soyuncu for Leicester City's back line, he's questionable with a knee issue. That'll be something I'd probably mention later. And then Moutinho could come back into the side for Wolverhampton. Luke Kundle started for Wolverhampton last match, but Moutinho has a chance to return. So that'll be something to look at. But first, we're going to be talking cash games. So we're just going to, separate cash and GPPs because that's probably the best method of talking for showdowns for this. But AJ, who is your cash captain? Let's just start there.
Yeah, I think for me, you kind of want some security, and I think the two ways to play this, at least the way I see it, is in a GPP. I'm probably going to go a little bit heavier on Leicester. I think that with them being, kind of slight underdogs here, they've got the higher goal total on the year by about 15 goals. Wolves are a little more defensively stout. That's why they're, higher up in the table. They've scored fewer goals, but they've allowed a lot fewer goals. So to kind of eliminate that kind of, bounce around, that insecurity, I'll go for cash. I'll go Wolves. And for me, I think comes down to, do you pay up for Potence or do you go with Aït-Nouri instead? And for me, I'm going to go with Aït-Nouri, significantly cheaper here, but he is a factor on their free kicks periodically. You look at the crosses per 90 minutes, he's actually the most on the entire slate. 5.14 crosses per 90 minutes on the slate here. And he's got a really good solid floor here, given that price tag. It's not the highest floor on the board. That does belong to Potence. Again, he'll have the highest per 90 floor overall. But I think for the savings and allowing you to kind of do a few more things with your lineup, I like spending down a captain in the cash games, and again, favoring Wolves for that spot.
Yeah, for Potence here, so you're reading off the cheat sheet, but I will say, I think, so Potence, he's been getting more time lately, 81 minutes, 90, 89, 89. So, yeah, he's been playing a ton, actually. I wonder what the playing time is going to look like, because Hee-Chan Hwang is actually healthy now. And when Hwang was healthy earlier in the season, he was playing a lot. And I don't think those two are healthy at the same time very often. So that's something I'd take into account there, just in terms of, Potence's playing time. He may not, get the full 90. It's usually like they have Raul Jimenez right there. And depending what happens, they'll, I guess the last match they played the 5 midfielders. So they also have Trincao in there. I think just in terms of Aït-Nouri versus Potence, I'd agree with Aït-Nouri. I think he's guaranteed for set pieces no matter who's in the squad. like we said, Matinho has a chance of coming back in, but even if he comes back in, Aitnery is still going to get set pieces. As for Podence, we don't know his exact situation on set pieces when all three of those guys are in. So that'll be another thing to look at. I'm just looking at Hwang Hee-chan's recent matches. Yeah, he played 9 minutes a week ago, and he returned before that. So, there's a chance something like if Wolves haven't scored at some point in the second half, Podence will probably be one of the first ones off. So that may be, what points or what a reason, another reason to go Aitnery above Podence, I'd say. But yeah, as for just playing cash games, I think just looking at the odds, I don't think the goalkeepers will be too popular. If anything, I'd say people have Jose Sa, just because of Wolves, how they've played defensively this season. They've gotten, a ton of clean sheets here. But if you're just looking at, his price, 6,600, he's coming off the 7-save 2-0 win against Tottenham. But before that, he hasn't really made a ton of saves. It is just looking at his game log, it's kind of hit or miss. 1 save, 0 save, then all of a sudden 9, 2, 1. So he's not entirely reliable from a cash perspective. Like this could be if this game goes according to the odds, if it's 1-1, there's a chance it's 1-1 and he makes 1 save and he kills your cash lineup. So for 6,600, it's probably better to go somewhere else in that range. But for cash games, are we looking at Raul Jimenez? Are we looking at any of the other Wolves attackers here? I guess he's kind of the only one projected to start, but we'll see if Hee-chan starts there at 7,000. 8,400 for Jimenez. Are you looking at him in cash?
Yeah, I think so. Again, they don't have the same high octane offense as Leicester, but again, speaking to the odds, Jimenez, he's the most likely, at least according to the odds, guy to get a point or to get a goal here. And so I think that's, a good spot to have him in. Shots are decent for him compared to the rest of the Wolves squad. So I do think he's probably the best other option for them. If in fact he does, and to your point, I think if Podence comes off, Jimenez more likely to stay on a little bit longer, and maybe can help, if they are looking for that late goal. I did want to mention, you talked about Sa and the lack of saves. The last, several matches that he's had, 4 clean sheets in the last 7. So looks pretty good there. But to your point, in 3 of those clean sheets, he only had 2 or 1 save. So again, if he gives up that goal, and we saw this against Arsenal, 1 goal allowed, but only 1 save. And that was a loss. It wasn't even a draw on that one. So to your point, I do agree. I don't think he's got the stability in terms of the number of saves, even though Leicester could put a lot of shots on, again, because of how they play. And then, yeah, on the flip side, I definitely wouldn't be touching Fox's goalie here. Kasper Schmeichel will probably not face a lot of shots. As I said off the top, Wolves don't have a huge offensive push from their team. So Schmeichel is really not going to face a lot of shots either.
Yeah, that's reasonable thoughts for cash games. So let's look at 2 different situations here for Leicester because this James Maddison thing is kind of putting a wrench into how we have to look at this. So James Maddison's 10.4K, and let's just look at it first if he's going to play. So the general thought is you're going to play Maddison in cash games. Whether it's captain, whether it's not captain, you probably need him in your team no matter what, really, in cash games, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's really no way to get around it. I think I lean away towards him in cash as captain, just because that price tag is just so high and it really hamstrings the rest of your lineup. So I think you find a way to maybe get somebody else in. Again, if you're favoring Wolves, Aitnery as your captain is really pretty cost controlled. And so then you can easily come back with Madison in your lineup and still have plenty of flexibility there. So I would fade him as the captain if he does play for cash contest, but I definitely agree. I think he has to be in your lineup in some way or another.
Yeah, I think that let me pull up cross numbers here. I guess Wolverhampton allow a decent amount. Um, yeah, I think just in terms of Madison, he probably just because of name alone and set pieces, if he starts, I think he may be. There's a chance he's the most popular captain in cash games. It's just kind of how people play. Like he has the safest floor, so they're just gonna automatically look at him first. Get his 10 points and then fill out the rest of your lineup. Like there are options to where you can spend down here. Like I kind of like Ricardo Pereira. He's kind of expensive here at 7,400. Also, Luke Thomas is like if you don't want to spend that on Pereira, Thomas on their side 5,600, and then even going for Wolves like Semedo 5,800. Like he's been fine really. He has at least 8 fantasy points in 5 of the last 6 matches. Some of that is clean sheets, but like he's still getting shots, he's still creating chances. So he's he's kind of cheap, really, if you look at other pricings on this slate. But if with no Madison, are you considering Dewsbury Hall here for captain? We looked at the numbers before the show. Dewsbury Hall took, I think, almost all of the corners for Leicester in Thursday's match. He also took a few in their last match, and it seems like he has the edge over Tielemans for set pieces if Madison's out. Would you look at Dewsbury Hall for captain just because like he's so cheap? What would it be, 9,000 at captain? So that's 1,000 cheaper than Aitner would be.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like him in my lineup for either format, cash or GPP, because like you said, it does seem like he has the edge here. And even looking at Tielemans, you go back, he hasn't taken any of their free kicks or crosses since game week 11. So it's been all James Madison since then. A few other guys sprinkled in here or there, getting some opportunities. So yeah, I love Dewsbury Hall, regardless of the structure here. Some of that is obviously dependent on Madison, right? Like if Madison plays, then I think you have to maybe take a different approach with it. But again, yeah, 9,000 for a captain. Again, just so much flexibility, regardless of doing cash or GPP.
Yeah, I'd also keep an eye on the formation because that kind of matters in terms of Tielemans, in terms of Dewsbury Hall. Like they played a 4-3-3 Thursday, but like they're a team that's played 4-2-3-1 before with Dewsbury Hall as an attacking midfielder. It just depends who's actually in there. Like we could read off all their guys like Chadauri, Samare, like these guys who would play if they're in the midfield, they'd be in more defensive positions. And if they're next to Tielemans, they're next to Dewsbury Hall, like that would mean either one of those guys would get more forward. But we could go through all the variations in their starting 11, but it's probably a waste of time. But I put together a quick lineup here with Madison at captain. You can actually get a pretty decent squad. Like it may be like this may be I don't want to say the most popular, but it seems like a fairly popular build here. I got Aitner, Jimenez, Dewsbury Hall, Ricardo Pereira, and Semedo in here. Like probably maybe the 6 best cash plays on the slate with Madison captain. So that'll probably be a pretty popular option there. I mean, with Aitner, the difference is you'd be able to get, instead of what Pereira or Semedo or one of those guys, like you could throw in Podence in there, you could throw in Iheanacho, something like that, and you can't fail to mention that Tielemans is also on PKs without Jamie Vardy in the squad, and that is he scored last match, so obviously that's important. But GPPs, our main discussion, where we will make most of our money. Do you have a favorite captain for GPPs? You said earlier that you like Leicester, so would that mean like you're looking at Iheanacho here for captain here?
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna stick with Dewsbury Hall as the captain again, kind of assuming he's going to be in that attacking mid central role. That's where we have him kind of right now. And again, at 9K, it's just such a good spot. And for me, I think the biggest name that pops up for me when I think GPP and Foxes really has to be Iheanacho, because you look at like his numbers. In terms of like top bottom, his DraftKings points per game per 90 minutes is 13.39, and the floor is way down at 6.98. So like he's so goal dependent, so heavy, that I definitely would not consider him personally for cash. But if you're going to go with like a Fox's stack here, anticipating that they'll come out with a win, I think Iheanacho makes just so much sense. It's probably, am I playing it maybe a little bit safer and maybe shouldn't be with Dewsbury Hall as my captain instead of Iheanacho? Yeah, probably. So if you really are going to go, kind of goal hunting and try and win the top spot, right? That's what we're here for. Maybe it does make a little more sense to switch to Iheanacho, but the fact of getting Dewsbury Hall in as my captain, I can fill that in with Tielemans as well. I can get Jimenez in there. I can get Iheanacho all across the board without having to really scrape anybody from the bottom here in terms of GPP build.
Yeah, we have Iheanacho in the projected 11, but there's a chance Daka starts again. Daka went the full 90 against West Ham, and then I put Iheanacho in at RotoWire mainly because Daka started Thursday's match, but there's a chance they just keep Daka in because for some reason it just seems like I don't know, Brendan Rodgers isn't a fan of Iheanacho right now, so I guess our thoughts are probably pretty similar on Daka, just in terms of you know, no floor and plenty of upside as the front man there. But
Yeah, I mean, I think they're an easy flip, right? If Daka starts and Iheanacho's out, like their numbers are just so similar in terms of floor to ceiling, that I think you just swap one out for another, and maybe you have to adjust the lineup a little bit. I think their prices are slightly different. Yeah, Daka's coming in about 600 more, so you might have to make one other maybe minor adjustment, but for the most part, I think they're interchangeable. Depending on who gets into the starting 11.
So my GPP here, I usually have the same kind of thoughts here in a lot of these slates, but I'm gonna say Kasper Schmeichel right here. You probably don't agree with this, but so it kind of doesn't make sense really, just given Leicester's back line. But I will say I'm only going to do this if Yannick Vestergaard is not starting. That's the main thing here, because whenever he plays, Leicester allow a goal. He's been terrible since coming over from Southampton. So if Vestergaard's starting, forget this whole thing. But Schmeichel, like if you just like Wolves are favored here, and they are higher in the table, but it's not like they're like a for sure team that's going to score goals. Like they're not even they're obviously they're not a top team, but they're not even like a team like Leicester where it's like, yeah, they're probably going to score some way somehow, but that's not really how they play. Like their last 5 home matches, they've been held scoreless, and that's only in league play. Like they're held scoreless home against Norwich, they're held scoreless home against Burnley, more recently home against Arsenal, they held scoreless. And then, as you said earlier about lack of shots, like that's true over the season. But in those clean sheets for Arsenal and Norwich, Ramsdale had 4 saves in the win clean sheet, and then whoever started for Norwich had 3 saves winning a clean sheet. So, like, there's recent history that's saying a win and a clean sheet is possible for Leicester, and like if you get that in this spot, like it's not going to be popular. Like Leicester underdogs, captaincy for Schmeichel is probably going to be probably less than 5%. So that's another boost right there. But like if you just look at 2-3 saves, win, clean sheet, like that's 16 points right there. And I mean, from there, you'd probably want like the strategy of going with clean sheets like Pereira and Luke Thomas. And like you can pretty much fill in whoever you want. Like you can get Daka or Ian Nacho there. You could even throw Tielemans in, hope for that PK goal. You can pretty much get whoever you think's going to get the Leicester goal, get their clean sheets, and then I like to throw in like the set piece takers for Wolves. So, in the case that maybe Leicester, they score in the first 20 or 30 minutes, like the rest of the 60 minutes, you're basically hoping for saves and you're hoping for a bunch of set pieces, a bunch of crosses or something from Wolves. So then at that point, you're looking at 8 kind of a thing, and you could probably even fit Podence there if you have enough money, which you should because you're captain in Schmeichel. But that's kind of how my favorite GPP strategy is. It's hit or miss because when Jimenez gets that first goal in the 10th minute, then your lineup's dead. But uh, what are your thoughts on that? I know you suggested Leicester for your GPPs, but what do you think on Schmeichel for captain?
Well, look, I mean, the offense, as I mentioned, Wolves there's only 2 teams in the league that scored fewer goals than Wolves this season, and both of those teams are in the relegation zone. So, they obviously, aren't putting a lot of goals in. I love, when we talk all the time, I love roster flexibility, and it gives you a ton of that. It really, you've sold me on it. Like I don't hate the strategy there. I tend to shy away in general from goalie captains just because it always breaks my heart then when the other team gets that goal. But it is going to be such an out there strategy, I think. Very contrarian. The drafted percentage alone for Schmeichel, just in general, I think is going to be really low. And then, as you said, like even lower for people willing to captain in. And yeah, I absolutely think it could work.
Yeah,
It's
it's as you.
probably the death blow on it. The fact that I think it's going to work has probably sealed its doom.
That's definitely not good that we're both agreeing with this here. But yeah, it's definitely a heartbreak strategy. I don't know how many times that I've been set for the 1-0 win with goalie captain, and then the other team gets a stoppage time goal. Sometimes it's out of nowhere, but that's definitely the worst way to lose because usually you're just banking on, I don't know, someone to score or something. Obviously, sometimes you can captain the stoppage time goal score or something like that. But it just seems like when you captain the goalkeeper and he allows the stoppage time goal, that just feels uh, a lot worse. But before we go, just looking at the numbers here, Wolverhampton 21 goals in 23 matches. So that's the main strategy we're going against. And like even Watford have more goals than them, if that says anything about uh, Wolverhampton's attack. So I think that's just a good strategy there, outside of Vestergaard and if he's going to start or not. So that's something I'd worry out for. I don't have the exact numbers on goals allowed when Vestergaard starts, but I'm pretty sure it's not good. Maybe I'll post that along with this video. But you got anything else for the showdown here?
No, I mean, I didn't really have a ton else that,
Yeah,
we
we
kind
talked
of
about
touched
pretty much
on.
everything.
Yeah, touched on everything here. But yeah, I think, I do think we kind of both seem like we're for GPPs, we're more on Leicester. And that's not to say I don't think either of us is doing, a crazy full on like only use one player from Wolves stack necessarily. But, I do think they just lead everything about them says they could get the upset, if you will. They're higher in the table, the upset, if you will. And that'll help you kind of eliminate some of those people that take Wolves as the favorite here.
Yeah, I think no matter cash games or GPPs, like if Madison starts, it's going to be Madison and Aiton probably top captains. Then next would be like Podence. And then if Madison's out, we'll see Dewsbury Hall, might see Tielemans. So that'll be the general thoughts on GPPs. If you want to do someone else, then, Schmeichel. There you go. But that's it for Sunday's matchup between the Wolverhampton, Leicester. We talked showdown at DraftKings. Again, we both work at RotoWire. That's rotowire.com. And I mentioned earlier, to get the cheat sheet, get all that stuff, rotowire.com/soccer trial, free 10-day trial, no credit card required. You can get pretty much everything we have at RotoWire. But AJ, you can find him at AJ Scholz24 on Twitter. I am at Roto Zdroik. And we've been talking Sunday slate. Good luck to everyone. Let's go 1-0 Leicester win. Let's get that. Let's go with a Tielemans PK. Let's get 4 saves for Schmeichel. And we'll be talking about our winnings next week then. How about that?
Sounds like a plan, man.
All right. All right. Thanks, AJ. We'll see everyone.